Hey, Miss Fisher, welcome to Bedtime Blog. Yeah, like that alliteration made just for you. But I just finished the book like 20 minutes ago, and so I'm doing my final impressions of the book. So, I think the part that has stuck with me the most is the emphasis on how there's two things. The first, and I've talked about this in class, is how Kingsolver really emphasizes how corporations and people are taking advantage of the poor in this area. Because when we did our background research on the book in the area, in the Appalachian area, we, learned that it's a very poverty-stricken area, very low, not literacy rates, but very low education rates, just because of that poverty and the drug abuse that goes on in the area, which when you're on drugs, you're not learning anything. And so really the emphasis on how corporations like the doctor that prescribed, Demon the medicine in the beginning, the oxy and the long L drug, I don't remember off the top of my head, and how they started that addiction, but how that doctor was actually crooked and was just selling pills to people to make them high, make them come back, get addicted, so he can make money and other corporations can make money. And so, I guess Kingsolver really solved this problem happening in her area. And so I found that really interesting about how that was such a motif, was this emphasis on people taking advantage of people manipulating each other in order to create addictions so people can get rich. It was the corporations, it was the people around them, like Ghost. I think his name was Ghost. He had the meth lab in the back. He was taking advantage of people so he could get rich. And it was just a whole cycle. And then the other thing that stuck with me was, which this kind of ties along to the thematic message that I got, was how the people that you surround yourself with really determines who you become and who you are as a person. So when Demo was hanging around, fast forward at the end, he was doing more drugs. When he would hang out with Maggot, he would do drugs. When he would hang out with Dory, they would get high every night. But when he would hang out with Angus, he would actually not be on drugs. And he would, or not Angus, Agnes. No, her name is Angus. It is Agnes. Angus? Yes, the beef. Her real name's Agnes. Sorry. Moment. But when he would hang out with her and Coach and Miss Betsy and Mr. Dick and the teachers, he wasn't high. He was actually intellectually stimulated. He was able to think for himself. Even with Tommy, my baby Tommy, still made it to the end, strong, best character, don't play it. But when he would hang out with these people, he was almost a different version of himself. When he was not surrounded by people who didn't have his best interests at heart, he could do things like go to advanced English, and he could pursue things like art without temptations of having drugs, where he could not, pursue anything other than just when's my next high. And so I think that part really stuck with me, because, personally, as I move into life, I have to keep mindful that the people I surround myself with is who I'm learning pieces of and who I'm slowly going to become more like. It's that, I don't remember what the saying is off the top of my head, but it's that saying of who you surround yourself with is who you become. And so that's really like my thematic message, is basically that, when you surround yourself with people who do not have your best interest, you are only going to harm yourself and others in the process. But when you surround yourself with people who care about you, you grow as a person. And I think that's really evident in Demon. When he was with Dory, he was awful. When he was with Emmy, he was a little better, but they still did drugs. I mean, she was never the best person for him, but Agnes was his one true love, and me and Kylie saw it from last time we talked to the lit circle. Everyone doubted. They didn't think Agnes and him were going to get together. But I knew. I could see the signs from the beginning. There were some other parts I want to talk about. I have a list of, like, stuff that, like, from these last couple chapters that kind of just jumped out at me. Fast forward, you know, he broke my heart because I really liked him in the beginning because he gave Demon some purpose. He's really what got him into the love of football. But it's just that juxtaposition from the beginning, from, like, Demon idolized him and he thought he was such a good person, but now we're finding out he's a terrible person, which there was foreshadowing with, like, pill parties or whatever. But I mean, really, like, sex trafficking is not what I expected him to get into. You know, I expected him to be in with the cartel. Like, I could see that being his path. Sorry, this keeps, like, turning off. It has my list. I could see that being his path, but I never thought he was going to sex traffic Emmy. Like, that was crazy when I read that. My jaw was on the floor. But I mean, Emmy's dad died. So I can't talk about that. That's not another point I want to talk about. But it's like, I mean, for her, that's like that. Who you surround yourself is who you become. What your life's gonna be like. She surrounded herself with the wrong people, and when she was with June, she was with probably the one person that really cared about her well-being, and then she just wanted to divide June when June knew what was best for her. And I think that's all kids' basic instinct is you don't want to listen to your parents. You think you know best, but truly they do because they've lived this life before. But Emmy could not take that advice for anything. There was a part in the book in the beginning that Lily, I remember, because when she said it, I was like, oh yeah, probably, because we know this book is told through, like, a reflection of Demon, and he's his older self, his older sober self, may we add. At the end, he was 3.5 years strong, but when he was talking about stealing from the pharmacy store, Lily was like, I think that's foreshadowing, and here it is, it's come to pass. But it was Maggot and Swap Out stealing so they can make meth. I mean, these kids are just turning into their parents, which is I think another big point that King Solver wanted to make was it's a generational cycle. You know, you never really break the loop of, like, who you come through unless you leave the bad environment. You could see this in Maggot. His mom was in jail. Guess what? Maggot was an accessory to murder. He went to jail, just like his mom. And, oh, it's about to thunder. It's torrential downpouring outside. Man, so if you hear anything, it's the rain. But Maggot ended up just like his mom. He couldn't break the cycle. You know, he was living with loving people who wanted to take care for him. The Peggotts, they only wanted the best for him. And he ruined the chances that he had because I don't even know why. I don't know why they decided just to do drugs, because they thought they were fun, they thought they were cool, and they're not. But I guess because it's such a stereotypical thing for the people in this area to do, they just thought, why not? Everyone else is doing it, why should I not? Which was a comment Demon had made that I remember reading. I don't know if it was this section or last section, but he was like, oh, he was talking about June. I think he was talking to June, and he was like, I don't know a single person my age that doesn't do drugs. It's almost like it's peer pressure at that point because everyone's doing it. Why am I not? And that's still prevalent to today's society. That happens every day, all the time. And so Maggot didn't break the cycle. Demon didn't break the cycle. You know, if Demon was a woman, he would have ended up just like his mom. But Dory is Demon's mom remade. She got pregnant when she was young. But at least Demon was gonna be a present father. Unlike his dad, but his dad died. But, I mean, still, he left. But, she would do drugs while pregnant, like Demon's mom. And she eventually overdosed, like Demon's mom did. Demon has honestly endured so much loss that him breaking and going on that bender with Maggot, that was his form of coping. That's the only form of coping that he knew was drugs. And, that was a problem because he was never taught healthy methods of coping. He had no one to learn from. His mom was a drug addict. Stoner. He got bounced around. He never really learned how to cope. His only method of coping since a young age was drugs. And that's what he fell into. You can't fix something you never knew. It's like they're saying ignorance is bliss, but it's not so bliss for him. He was ignorant. He mentally did not know what was happening to him at the beginning. He got more aware at the end, but then he would just fall back into it because drugs is a never-ending cycle. And another point that King Solver touched on was, and he had said this when this motif was brought up when he was with Betsy. Yes, Miss Betsy. And she was like, where do you want to go? Like, I have girls all over. Like, where do you want to go? And he was like, if I can't be with you, I want to go back to Lee County. And we talked about this. You talked about how the book was influenced by The Wonderful, Wonderful Whites. That Lee County drags everyone back to it. There's something about Lee County that's so addictive. And that's the people. You're so addicted to that environment and that... the terrible things that happen, there's so much trauma that you can't really escape it. It's all you know. You can't go somewhere because you're like, I'm scared. Which was a point for Emmy when she was going to rehab. She was like, I'm afraid. She was afraid to leave Lee County. That's all she's known besides Knoxville. But she was afraid to leave Lee County. Who was she gonna be? No one would know her. And I think that's a big fear of, like, people are afraid to leave home because they're afraid to start a new life. Like, me personally, I didn't want to go to Baton Rouge by myself. I'm afraid. But I'm still going far away. This is turning into a really long video, but you're getting my final reflections. And then Demon at the end, when he was trying to get clean, he was afraid to leave Lee County at first. But then it kind of juxtaposes to the end where he was afraid to return to Lee County because he knew that would foster him if he had some low morals that day. He would go back to drugs. And so I think that was a really big point, is when you're in Lee County, you want to stay there. But once you're gone and once you're free and once you've broken all those chains that have been placed upon you, you don't want to go back and you don't want to feel restricted. Which was a very powerful point, and I'm sure it resonated really hard with the people of the Appalachian area, and it might have given them the strength to actually leave these environments that were not good for them and were breeding terrible decisions. I'm trying to look at my list to see if there's anything else I want to touch on. Something that kind of like we've seen throughout, but that got worse while he was on drugs, was Demon's violence. It kind of reminded me of Stoner's outburst, which I think was intentional. She wanted to draw those parallels to what people become because that's all they know. When Demon is angry, his first thought is violence. But that would happen. That was his abuse as a child. When Stoner was angry, what would he do? He resorted to violence. He would put his hands on somebody. He'd throw stuff. And that's, again, that generational, what you learn when you're young is all you end up learning. And that's the only thing that keeps repeating over and over for generations until someone finally breaks it, like Demon, and gets out, gets clean, learns for himself. I'm really happy that Demon started that online program and got his book, because it's important that people know his talents. Not everyone is meant to be a genius, but everyone has a talent that is appreciated. And I think that's something Demon really needed to learn, that people would appreciate what he has to do. He was always insecure because he wasn't smart, he wasn't rich, he had really nothing going for him, but his artwork is power, and it can convey a message through it. that, you know, other things could happen. U-Haul, I always knew he was shady from the beginning, and I'm actually kind of glad that Demon, you know, when U-Haul said that Coach was embezzling, he was like, what are you talking about? No, he wouldn't. Because at first I thought that was maybe Demon just trusting the wrong people, because that has been a motif throughout this. He trusts the wrong people and he shoves away the people he should trust. But that's the one time that he trusted someone he should have. Because U-Haul is creepy and he's gross and he needs to be locked up. So, bam. I think that's really it. I think I've said my piece. Let me see your prompt. Oh, you already know this. I said this at the beginning. The only thing I enjoyed her writing. I really enjoyed her flow. Once the story started picking up, because it picked up like around like chapter like 10. The first couple chapters was slow, but that's because it was background info. The only thing I think I would enjoy more of was dialogue. But the book was good, so I can rest my peace with that. That's the only thing I didn't really care for, but I got over it because I had to. I would recommend this book. It has a lot of lessons that people can learn. There's multiple things that you can pull from this, multiple themes. Be great for the AP Lit test if you want to tell your juniors that. I know, who would have thought? But it's a very powerful book with multiple messages that can apply to other aspects of life, not just addiction. It can apply to going to college, who you surround yourself with, generational cycles, how to break chains, how to be set free. I mean, there's multiple things that can be learned from this. And so that's why I think that people should read it, because, you know, not everyone's going to get the same message. Not everyone's going to get the same meaning from it. And that's what's so special, is that everyone can get what they need from this book, because there's so much that you can pull from, so much you can learn from, and so much that people can resonate with. Not everyone has to resonate with the drugs. You can resonate with the school life, or you could resonate with the family situations. There's a plethora of things, and so that's why I think that people should read this book. I'm glad I hope you watched this whole 18-minute video. Hope you enjoy bedtime vlogs with Haley. And that is it. I will see you in class tomorrow, or whenever you grade these. Night night.